Boissy-sans-Avoir was a French knight who was one of the leaders of the People's Crusade, the first crusade to the Holy Land. He was the lord of Boissy-sans-Avoir, a small domain located in northern France. Walter's name translates as without having. Walter heard one of Peter the Hermit's fiery speeches about a need for a crusade to liberate the Holy Land from the iron grip of the Muslims and joined his cause. He eventually became one of his trusted lieutenants. Walter got an early start on his march to the Holy Land in the spring of 1096 AD and led his knights and ragtag crusader army straight towards Constantinople, which would be the meeting point for the other crusaders. His army traveled through the Holy Roman Empire without incident as he ordered his soldiers to refrain from looting and plundering the land. Before his army entered the Kingdom of Hungary, Walter asked for an audience with King Coloman in early May of 1096. He allowed the Crusaders safe passage through his land and allowed them to purchase supplies and rest before they headed to the Eastern Roman Empire. The only incident occurred near the border of the two realms when the Crusaders were attacked by a group of Hungarians who robbed them of their supplies. Walter's army arrived in the outskirts of Constantinople at the end of June and awaited for the other group, led by Peter the Hermit. The large mass of his ragtag army and their presence disturbed the Eastern Romans, who feared that they would plot and plunder their land. Eastern Roman Emperor Alexious I was expecting a few thousand professional mercenaries, not a ragtag mob of pilgrims and a handful of knights. The situation grew worse when Peter the Hermit's Crusaders arrived in August. Having over 30,000 foreigners in his empire made him uneasy, so he quickly sent them across the seas to Anatolia in August. He ordered them not to venture into Turkish territory. The Crusaders were told to wait for the rest of the Crusade army, the official one that was authorized by the Church, to join them, along with Eastern Roman soldiers. Feeling restless, the Holy Roman and Italian knights, along with the ragtag army, began to plunder the Turkish lands and eventually entered Nicomedia. By this time, the restless Crusaders revolted against Peter the Hermit and Walter. A few weeks later, the disgruntled knights from the Holy Roman Empire and Italy ignored his leadership and elected Raynald to lead the Crusaders. Walter himself was bumped by his fellow French knight, Geoffrey Borel. A dejected Peter the Hermit went back to Constantinople while the Holy Roman Knights and their Crusader army continued to venture to Turkish territory. In the middle of September, they captured the Turkish fort Zagordes. Walter and the French knights, under the leadership of Geoffrey Borel, moved on to the castle of Civita, which was built years earlier by the Eastern Romans as a safe haven for Anglo-Saxon knights that fled England after the Norman invasion. The rest of the ragtag army of Crusaders also stayed behind with the French knights. They numbered between 30 and many say up to 60,000. They waited for the Eastern Romans to aid them and to hear back from the contingent of Italian and Holy Roman knights that captured the Turkish fort at Zagordes. The Turks slaughtered the Crusader knights after a brief siege of Zagordes. The over 6,000 knights and Crusaders were starved out after a week-long siege of the castle, and the Turks either executed them or sold them into slavery after they converted to Islam. The rest of the Crusader army that was stationed in Civita nearly a month later heard rumors spread by Turkish spies that the Crusaders captured the city of Nicaea and were looting the place. Not wanting to be left out of the spoils, Geoffrey and Walter rounded up all the able-bodied men and marched toward Nicaea. Unfortunately for the Crusaders, the Turks were waiting for them a few miles down the road and set up a bloody ambush. Walter was killed in the battle when he was shot 7 times by a volley of arrows, which pierced his chest and neck. The battle in Civita ended the People's Crusade.